Look, folks, there's a reason why people don't buy magazines with old fat people in them, naked old fat people. So if naked, trusty trucks are not your thing, um, little explicit warning here. It's pretty awful. So I'm going to explain something. We're going to get the customer here. I think in my last video on this truck, I don't know whether I posted that yet. I've had so many disruptions from these Dominican neighbors that my plumbing is leaking and not theirs. It's just like the Dominicans that I am a mechanic. No, you're a fucking monkey with a bag of tools. I hate to say things like that, but I guess when your shit filter gets as loaded up as mine has, uh, things get pretty intense and your language just gets out of hand. As I said, at one time I was a lot more facetious and a lot more mild mannered, but to me, I'm being tortured here with this. I was just over at code enforcement because something's got to change. All right, let's get back to this truck. So, why I'm calling the customer here is I got to switch gears. Some places on this frame have to get cut out, and this is another warning to you young guys or one of you guys that says, I'm going to take the bull by the horns. Maybe you know how to work the all-purpose fire axe. This thing, okay? I'm going to cut the exhaust off, but there's do's and don'ts, and there's places on this frame where the inside of the frame, like over here, that's got to get cut out. That is loaded up with debris, and you're not going to get it, despite even if you got every piece out of there. This metal pops. I think I explained this to people when they paint their frames and they say, oh, it's painted, it's not going to rust, it's a good, or what is that, the POR R13 or whatever. Look, it's going to rust because there's metal in it, there's moisture in the steel, and it rusts. That's exactly what was happening here. They put a coating on the frame, and actually it started making the rust leach inside the frame. That's why they have products like fluid film, wool wax. There's a couple others that are out there. I believe even Transtar is making one now. Clark's Wholesale was tempting me to try their clear coat, their 4K, because I've been having a hell of a time with stuff flashing here, and especially during the hot weather, which is the only time I paint. And that's the reason why I do this stuff here, and I tell people they got to be patient when they take it to other places. A lot of us already know better. You don't do this stuff inside. Okay, especially if you have show cars in or around or anywhere near the property. The quickest way to lose a relative or a friend or maybe get your head handed to you is burn up somebody's show car. So that's why I do a lot of this stuff here, because nothing's going to catch on fire. I've got my garden hose over there, and it does exactly what I tell it to do. And that's why I removed gas tanks, even though that gas tank was shot. It had to go. We're handling that. But the point of my conversation is I got to switch to plasma. I'm not going to get the amount of sparkage and backfire that could go in my eye or my hair or set my clothes on fire. Remember that I told you about smelling Oprah Winfrey and a spoiled hot dog and something else burning, like an old steak. And I turned around and it was me, kind of like a pork chop. The hell is that? Well, it was my sweatshirt and me was on fire. And there ain't no amount of ointment that's going to fix that type of stuff. Not for a couple of weeks. And every time you go in the shower, it's really sensitive. Just so you know, that's why I'm going to talk him in. We got to get some more metal. And these brake lines like this has got to come off of there, because that's the section of the frame I've got to fix, is right here. And I mentioned that to him. And I said, well, we'll see what we can do. Well, that's really cancered out right there. So we already know we're going to have to make a bracket, or we're going to have to buy one. That's what I'm going to discuss with him. I'm going to tell him if I can buy those, I'm going to get one. If not, I'm going to call my uncle down at the salvage yard, and I'm going to see if I can get one. But that whole part of that frame right there is gone with the wind. And I'm going to have to hope, when I do that, I'm going to have to actually weld a piece of angle iron. That's what I got to tell him. I got to get some other things, because I don't want that frame buckling up with the leaf spring and the weight that's on it. It's a good way. I'm surprised that frame hasn't snapped there yet, but that's a good way. So take a look at what you're looking at. All right, so yes, it's going to cost him probably another $700-800. on top of what he's going to owe me when I'm done. But it's going to save the truck, because plasma, it does not throw as much slag back at you as the fire axe does. Okay, it's all right. It's all right if you're not going to have your head right there doing a precise cut, but I'm going to have my head right there to do a precise cut. And a lot of times with the torch, you can slip. With the plasma, the torch is much smaller, and or I can weld a guide, and I can kind of glide my plasma along the glide. But the only thing is, a tank of the helium argon that I use, oxygen, that is $75 a tank here in Pennsylvania. So there is no cheap route to doing some of this stuff. And no, I didn't stick the guy, but the fuel tank was in the way there. I couldn't see 3/4 of that stuff, and not to the extent that I'm seeing it now. So he has some other patches on the frame. We're even going to blow right over those, or we're just going to cut out those areas. So there's a lot of grinding and there's a lot of extra, but we're going to save his truck. And then there's two spots that I mentioned in the other video that I didn't see because, number two, the fuel tank was in the way. They're underneath the truck there. And no, I'm not going to go climbing under there and poking holes in somebody's frame, but I can almost crush the frame with my fingers. Look, this ain't easy. It's doable, and it's going to cost you some cash. Even my own truck, I did about the same thing, and I made my own supports, not spring hangers. And that's the problem with these trucks. You see, that's the other problem with this work, is he's going to take it somewhere, probably have it safety inspected. And kind of like what happened with that Ford Ranger when I told that idiot kid, you're not going to take that front suspension apart and put it back together rusty. It's got to come out of there. So I buy the kit, and right away I'm a bad mechanic because I put a patch on it. Well, I charged the kid for the kit. I'm not sending it back. I can't. And I don't like dealing with eBay with returns, because it takes forever to get my money back. Sometimes as much as 2-3 months. Especially when they hem and haul you around and, oh, we'll give you $50 off if you keep it. No, just give me my money back. Well, that doesn't happen. And to me, that's flim-flam on eBay. So, I don't want that to happen with this truck, that he takes it somewhere and says, who the fuck did this? Well, I ran out of money. Well, you're just going to have to get some more pesos. I hate to do that to people. It's like pushing somebody off a cliff. Well, why didn't you tell me? Well, it's a part now. Now I see what we're dealing with. And I did kind of have a feeling, because I guess that was that Eddie Early that was here, the one guy. I cut 2 of them in half. These with the box frame are a bitch to cut these in half and get them right, or at least halfway squared up. Especially when you have the spring hangers and all that apart and cut up, and good Lord. I don't know how to tell people that you got to watch what you do with these vehicles, because somebody else is going to look at your work. And as I told you, my modus operandi, it's as safe as I can make it for the man, and I do the best of my ability. The money is what helps get the jobs done. And like I said, I didn't like the way this went, but it's a good running truck. He's going to need rockers put on it, but they're not through yet. There's a part of the cab, the floor, that's through. I'm going to ask him, maybe I can put a patch over it, or maybe I can camouflage it so it's not as evident. Right now, I'm not worried about that. Sorry about my smoking during the video. And my tiki torch is on over there. Whenever that wafts through, that diesel gags me, even when I'm in town in my truck. So look at the naked truck. Okay, and as I said, that's why there isn't a market for magazines with naked old people in it. Okay, I mean, there are people that like to torture bugs and little animals, sick pricks like that. It just ain't here. It just ain't here. But anyway, I'm not going to torture this old truck. We're going to get this old girl back the way her owner, at least, is going to be able to get it inspected. I have a piece of old frame here. See this? That's to fix this back part that's all rotted out. That's nice heavy 3/16 hardened steel, and that's what's going to belong there, where that's all rotted out. And see in here. So I got to pick up my bolts, my nuts, and my pieces here. Oh, this tripod makes me fight it. I don't know why it does that. Making videos of trucks like this in your work, I think it's I think it's the prerogative of the proprietors of the channels to tell people it's a challenging thing to be honest with them, and to use certain materials to make sure that your work. Um, that's what YouTube's about. It's a learning experience. It takes a curve, and it's not for everybody. Okay, if you're a young guy and you want to take the bull by the horns and you don't have torches, you don't have plasma, it's a tough road. I mean, I use a lot of the angle grinder. I mean, that's my main go-to. But when you have that much stuff that's got to be cut out, I'm not going to buy 3 more boxes of discs when I can just, it'll equal, the bottle of gas that I need for the plasma, and I'll sit it out here on my little cart, and I'm just going to have to deal with it. But I'm not going to let this man. I'm not going to disappoint the guy. I never did. Everybody that's left here has pretty much been satisfied, except it costs some money. Even the quote, even when I'm on the money with it, and hey, you owe me what you owe me. But usually there's always something, extra. And in this case, these shocks got to come off of here. They're shot anyway. But there's places that I got to bite into there where there's still good metal. And that's what this is all about. Because these integral frames are a whole different thing. As I was alluding to with that Ford Ranger. When he took it to get it inspected, the guy said, "I didn't charge you that for just a welder patch." Well, no, I bought the kit, but the asshole kid didn't want to go along with the program. So I can't change people's minds. Even this guy, maybe this guy will get a little angry, think I'm trying to take advantage of him. It's not the case. It's just that you got to go about things a little bit differently. Um, why fight? Why fight something when you can make it 100% easier? That's why they make body panels. And a guy will say, "I just want you to put a patch over it." Well, it's time and money. And for the time and the money, you can just cut that area out, put another piece in there, and butter it over. And even I've left it in primer for people. They were perfectly satisfied. I'm not going to keep it. I'm going to sell it next year. And now people that are coming here are deciding I'm going to keep it. I'm going to go the distance. And it's like I only have so much time to do so many trucks. And then like I said, I need the good weather because I work outside. There's no way in hell I'm going to work in a building and maybe leave something smoldering. It's just not my thing, and I don't want to be making all that dirt, especially down at my dad's place. He would flip. I don't even want to, he would hang me. You're not making that kind of dirt in here. Well, it's a nice big enclosed working area. I don't care. So we did have that argument. That's why I work here, and I'm comfortable here. I'm near home. If I want to, to eat something, I eat something. If I want a beer, I have a beer. I don't have to worry about driving home. I don't have to worry about going anywhere. And that's as safe as you can make things for yourself and your environment that you're in. So you guys that are deciding whether you're going to start doing this or you're just going to do your own truck, you're best at home in your own environment. Can you rent a torch, a fire axe? I don't know if you can rent them. I doubt that. So it's something you're going to have to buy. A welder. You probably can rent welders somewhere. I wouldn't advise it because so you find out what the heat ranges are of that machine, you're going to have it more than the period that they allow you to, unless you're an expert welder. Even me, I discussed when I went for job interviews and they have they turn the cycle all out. You don't know the machine, and I don't have all day to stay in there and find out what the heat range is so I can produce a nice weld. Can I guess? Yeah. But now they have these new generation machines where they have 1,000 settings on them, and then they have new generation machines, sorry about the wind, where they have like a low, a medium, and a high, and those are not the welders to buy. They're very incompatible, especially if you have finicky steel or alloyed steel that you're welding into. You can weld into some of these alloyed frames. I do it here all the time, but it takes a special gas, and it takes a welder with a really variable heat range. And even I wouldn't say that welder, the welder that I have, it didn't take me all that long to figure out the heat range on that. I pretty much, since I've been dealing with 110 pocket welders, I'm pretty much used to them. But it's like I said, it's when you get to these newer high-tech machines, that's where stuff can really let loose and it can fool you. You can look like you're producing a weld, but you're not getting penetration. And that's all crucial to getting it done. And that's why if you're going to go out to Harbor Freight tomorrow or decide to work on the frame on your truck, you better review some courses of how to weld metal, because it's not as easy as it. Once it's old hat to you, it's easy, but after that, who knows? So sorry about my messy hair. I had my cutting helmet on there for a while. We got rid of all the stuff in the back of the truck, and we're also going to try to get this harness tucked out of the way and maybe shielded from the weather a little bit till I close my day out here. It's getting to be beer 30. Well, the sun's pretty high, probably pretty early. Maybe it's about 2:30, but it's going to come soon enough till I get this exhaust and all this stuff cleaned up. It's going to get pretty late in the day. Thanks for watching my videos, and remember, I am the king of naked truck porn. Thanks.